WoW Killer is a production of amove.tv. Check out Amove TV for many more podcasts, multiple about Blizzard games. And for more of Taliesin's WoW coverage, check out Taliesin and Evitel on YouTube and Twitch.tv. Greetings and welcome back, everyone. It's WoW Killer.
It's WoW Killer.
He's Tally.
I'm Tally.
We're coming in this episode with more technical issues than we've ever experienced, and we're a little tilted.
That's
but
not
you can't
actually
tell it
true,
from the happy
Garrett.
tone
That's
in our
not
voice.
true. What are you even talking about? This is nowhere near the most amount of technical issues we've ever had. You're a liar. Why are you lying? We've had loads more technical issues than this. We've had episodes. We've literally had to cancel the episode because we can't get stuff working. And now you're all like, it's the most ever. Yeah, everything has to be the biggest and the best with you Americans, doesn't it? We've had much worse problems than this before now.
The technical issues of this episode are of lifted truck magnitude, to put it in a term that Southern Americans can understand.
And yet no one else can understand it at all, though. That's the problem.
No, not at all. To put it in terms that World of Warcraft players can understand, it is legendary magnitude.
Oh, there we go.
The technical issues that we have experienced were written in orange text.
Uh-huh.
You get it.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Y'all get it.
I'm going to do you a massive solid here, Garrett.
What are you going to do?
I'm peeking here as well. I'm going to do you a massive solid, and I'm going to clap like this, so that when you come to put this recording of my vocal on the video later on, or sync it up with your stuff, you can do that now. Because we've got to do that before we started the show. You're going to really enjoy me for that. You're going to be so happy about that later on.
I'm also going to appreciate you doing it at the beginning of the show, because then it'll be easy for me to find this and cut it out. No one will ever even know that we did this.
Exactamundo.
Yeah, totally. We're like 95% professional.
If you want, you can cut this bit out of the actual show before you post it, but I don't imagine you will. I don't imagine you'll bother.
So, anyways, I before we even get to the main topic of today, I have a mini topic, which is: do you think we're out of the honeymoon phase with Shadowlands? Are we officially out of it?
I'm so done with Shadowlands. Basically,
are we yelling at Shadowlands
one more time? Then I'm probably done with this entire game. I'm gonna have to take a break for my own sanity and for the sake of my channel. No, what are you talking about? I still love it. I'm still loving Shadowlands.
Oh darn! Because I'm definitely yelling.
It's amazing.
I'm 100% yelling at Shadowlands for leaving its socks laying all around the place.
I don't even know what. Like you're a couple living together, and now you're starting to get on each other's nerves a bit and stuff. And I'm with you. I get it. And you're like, do you know what, Shadowlands? Just once, could you just like rinse the plate before you put it in the dishwasher? Just for once in your life, could you do that? Because it gets in the filter. You don't rinse the plate. There's shit on the plate. It gets in the filter. You're going to break the dishwasher. And just once, maybe you could unload the dishwasher when it's done. Just once. Would it hurt you? Would it kill you, Shadowlands? Is that how you're feeling with Shadowlands right now? Is that it?
Yeah, pretty much. Why are you putting coffee grounds in the garbage disposal? Why are you doing that? That's where I am personally at.
Where do you put coffee grounds? Just out of interest, where do you put coffee grounds?
In the trash. You can't put that stuff in the garbage disposal. It's like putting sand in there.
Mate, I literally put it in the sink. What, garbage disposal? I put that shit in the sink.
That's in the sink if you have one.
I put it in the sink. So wait, you don't have a sink?
I do have a sink.
Well, who doesn't have a sink? Who has a garbage disposal but not a sink?
They go in this. Never mind. This is, this isn't the home. This isn't home improvement
out
killer.
Of hand. You see what your hatred of Shadowlands has led you to? It led you to the dark side. What are you even talking about? I have no idea. Listen, okay, here's the thing, Garrett. Most of the time, I don't really understand you or what you're talking about, and I kind of politely nod and like just go, great point, Garrett, really well done, fascinating insight, but I don't really understand what you're talking about. But this time, I have literally no clue. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm lost. Are you saying you don't like Shadowlands? Is that what's happening?
No, it's just,
and you think anyone who does like Shadowlands is an idiot. Is that what you're saying? It sounds like that's what you're saying.
I mean, more or less, yeah. I mean, everyone who listens to this that isn't me, including you, is an idiot. But really, this was meant to be a soft lead into our actual topic today, and it just failed spectacularly. Which basically, I was trying to get up to the point of this Taliesin, which is, I have no idea, not a nerdy student of any sort, but there is a concept out there, and it has a technical name, and I'm sure someone smarter than me will inform me what this is. But basically, the more perfect something is, Taliesin, the more the imperfections stick out and can tend to make themselves apparent to you. And that's what I was curious if you're starting to experience with Shadowlands, because today we're going to be revisiting Torghast and talking about the little things about Torghast that maybe irk us or are irking the community, and where we see it potentially going as a live and constantly changing part of Shadowlands.
Okay, I think I follow you a little bit better now, Garrett. Is that why we've called this episode Torghast Tor-furious? Is because
I mean, that's why you called it. I mean, I have it written down in the notes as the problem with Torghast.
Because it's on my stream now, Garrett. We do this on my stream now, so I get to name it. So I get to name the episodes, and that means a lot of these episodes of WoW Killer, Garrett, are going to be based on Fast and Furious puns, just so you know.
I mean, I am completely... Have you seen the color of my vehicle?
This is the last time this is going to happen.
Have you seen the color of my vehicle? I am on board for this.
I've not seen the color of your vehicle, no. Or your car.
Well done. I am always on board for a Fast and the Furious.
I'm on fire today. This is the best podcast I've ever done. I'm on fire. This has never been bettered.
Now.
This will never be bettered. God, you are lucky guys that you're here for this. This is the best WoW Killer that I've ever seen. This is the best one ever. Wow. This is amazing. This is so good. If we stopped it now, it would be the best WoW Killer ever. Maybe we should. I mean, people are listening like, yeah, please, seriously. No, okay, well, listen.
Where is this going?
There's a lot.
It's going here.
You're right. Listen, I take your point. There is a lot in Shadowlands now, which, you're right. The little niggles and after the honeymoon period, the little niggles and the little frustrations are starting to show. So, for example, we couldn't do a weekly reset this week on my YouTube channel, Taliesin and Evitel Do Games. Check it out, maybe. Which is our weekly show, because we had some family problems because my brother's got coronavirus. But the title of the weekly reset this week was going to be "The Raid is Too Hard and There's Not Enough Loot." That was going to be the title of it. And so that's representing some of the niggles that people have with the expansion at the moment. One of which is that the raid is too hard, and one of which, although it has to be said, the people taking part in the race to world first, the Mythic race right now, are maybe proving that wrong. But when Heroic went live, everyone was like, "Oh man, this is really hard. This is really difficult. I can't even... Oh my god, this is so hard." Like, it took over a day for Heroic Denathrius to go down, So it was very hard. And then Blizzard turned around and they went, "Oh yeah, all that loot you've been getting, it's too much. Too much loot. We didn't mean for it to be that much." As we, we said for a group of 20, there should be about 3 pieces of loot. It's dropping like 5 right now. So we're just going to take away, I'm not going to take away loot that people have got, but we're going to just nerf that and fix that. So it's like,
yeah, Blizzard giveth and
what it should be. Yeah. And people were like, "But my loot! Not my loot!" Like that. And so these little niggles are starting to come up, and people got some issues with the way the vault is working yesterday and today, and giving out loot and things like that. And you're right, one of the criticisms and the little niggles that I've heard coming to the surface have been to do with Torghast. So what have you heard about Torghast that people don't like?
The big one I keep seeing is just how damn long it takes. And I mean, hell, one of the top posts on the Reddit this week, which I've actually been reading because I can't stand the Hearthstone one anymore, is that the increasing the health, it doesn't actually make it harder. It just literally does nothing but increase the time it takes to complete, which I don't disagree with.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean,
there's kind of a point there.
Okay, so how much Torghast have you done?
A ton. because as someone who's not currently raiding, one of the ways I do have control over trying to stay somewhat up to date is maxing out my Soul Ash, especially since I hit 60 so late in the first week that I started behind on my Soul Ash. Never again.
Oh, yeah. Well, we tried to warn you about that, Garrett. We did try and say, we were like, Garrett, if there's one thing you do, then make sure you stay up to date with your Soul Ash. And what did you do? You went and got a haircut. Where's the Soul Ash now, Garrett? And you look lovely. Right. Honestly, you look so beautiful right now, but where's your Soul Ash? Which is more than I could never truly love you, Garrett, because I could never truly love someone who isn't up to date on their Soul Ash. That's the thing.
Well, I mean, if I am looking lovely, that's more than I can say for my character who only has badass-looking legendary boots, but has no hope of ever getting that full set matching because you can't transmogrify legendary looks on the rest of the... Why make a beautiful armor set if I can't wear that full beautiful armor set?
It's all coming out.
What are you doing?
It's all coming out now. Garrett.
It's all coming out. It's all coming.
Garrett hates Shadowlands official. It must be hard hating Shadowlands. What are you going to do for the next 2 years, Garrett? Now that you hate Shadowlands, what are you going to do? Like, because you've got to go on the instance and pretend that you like Shadowlands, or you could just be like, just be like Patrick and make no attempt to pretend.
You can't do this to me, man. You can't do this to me.
That's right. I'm trying to make you slag off your other friends that you do a different podcast with. I'm like, hey, Garrett, you're in this podcast now. Should we slag off your other podcast? Should we slag off all your other friends?
My friends. You're gonna make me talk crap about Jocelyn and Kyle next? Yeah, sure. Let's just throw Scott Johnson under the bus too while I'm at it. No, I'm gonna fight you on that, man. No, I'm 100% tying this back into my opening with this, which is, the more perfect something is, the more the little things bother you. And that's Shadowlands. I love it. I am over the freaking moon with this expansion. I'm having a really good time. But yeah, stuff like that. Stuff that I'm like, damn, that legendary armor set for plate looks amazing. And then I go to try and transmogrify to test it because I didn't look this stuff up ahead of time and go, wait, I can't transmogrify my armor to look like other legendary pieces. Why even bother designing a legendary armor set?
What you need is a macro that if you've got the whole set, okay, like it's a cast sequence macro that swaps out every piece of armor like in sequence, and you just got to do it really fast so to the naked eye it looks like you're wearing the full set.
That's what I'm going to do when I'm...
You're going like from chest to boots, legs to like to shoulders so quickly that to any normal human being it looks like you're wearing the whole transmog set, but you know, Garrett, that you're not.
No, I'm going to call that my new mailbox macro because that's what I'm going to do when I'm standing on top of a mailbox.
Well, so Ian has this is true. You can't obviously you can't wear more than one legendary at the moment, and also you can't transmog any normal gear into the legendary appearances, even if you've like got legendaries with that appearance. Which means that you can't wear the whole set and look amazing in that set, which is kind of defies a lot of the point. Ian Hazacostas has said that will be loosened. That restriction will be loosened later on in the expansion. So come the end of the expansion at the latest, come the last patch of the expansion at the latest, I suspect it'll be long before that, to be honest, like a 0.2 or something. You will be able to do that, Garrett. So you can go back to loving WoW again when that happens. Maybe just stop playing for the time being, just cancel your subscription. Have a break, honestly. Like, it's fine.
You know what I hope they do? I legitimately mean this. I want to one day, I want them to give me no pre-information about how I will be able to eventually just show my whole set of legendary awesomeness. I just want to, wander over into the Hall of Curiosities because I got a new chest piece and it doesn't match anymore, and I need to go to the transmogrifier, and that transmogrifier is going to have a big old orange exclamation point over its head, and it's going to send me on some ridiculous, awesome quest just to unlock the privilege to transmogrify everything to look like this totally rad legendary armor set. That's what I want. Yeah,
that's not going to happen. But I mean,
but everybody's so cool.
Well, it'll happen when we finally release the Rune Carver, right? And he's out of the Okay, so here's something I've been thinking about, and we are going to talk about Torghast in a minute. But here's something I've been thinking about quite a lot, actually. So, the jailer, he's like the baddie of Shadowlands, right? Okay. Now, we all suspect that there's going to be something else as well that we don't know about yet, where the story's kind of going to go and what have you. But where do you know, if you had to guess based on what we know right now, where do you? Let's assume that the jailer is the final boss of Shadowlands. Okay, just for the sake of argument, whether we actually think it is or not. Where do you see like the final raid where you take out the jailer, like happening?
I think it's funny you mentioned this. I was running around the mall doing some dailies, and this thought just kind of washed over me. I was just thinking to myself, is the final raid Torghast? Are we going to get Torghast the raid?
And because that would be shit, right?
Well,
because you've spent so much time in Torghast already. You're already here crying in front of all the people watching this live stream, talking about how much you hate Torghast and how much it but you know how much you hate in Shadowlands and how anyone.
No, I don't think it will be
because of it. And like same with the Moor, man. We're running around the Moor like absolute idiots, like just killing stuff. And like what I'm saying is, we're spending a lot of time in the Moor and we're spending a lot of time in Torghast already, like plenty of hours per week. Do you want a raid in the Moor? Do you want a raid in Torghast?
I think it's going to echo the end of Wrath of the Lich King. We got multiple dungeons with the release of the ICC raid that look like ICC. They're taking place in and around ICC. There's a lot can be saved with unique level design.
Okay.
So if the raid is like the fall of the jailer, like it was fall of Lich King, whatever, but it's like it's basically taking place at the top of Torghast, at reaches of Torghast we never see, that look nothing like the legitimately frequently repeating floors that we currently see when we run Torghast. Like, it's going to be big and expansive and open and not randomized. I think it'll be fine. You know, yeah, if they just repurpose the same stupid random floors that we're currently doing now as like daily content of our WoW lives, yeah, that would be a bit of a bummer. But I can't see a universe where that is what happens.
I don't know, man, because like the example you just gave where ICC launched and there were dungeons based around it as well, that was all the same patch. Okay, that was like, you know, one of the later patches of it was whether or not it was the last patch, it was essentially the climactic patch of Wrath of the Lich King. Anything that came afterwards was epilogue, and like, so the raid launching with dungeons that were based around the raid launching at the same time in the same patch is one thing, but having Torghast, which we go into every single week for longer than you go in for a dungeon, which we're going to get to in a moment, and you know, like, you have to do it multiple times on multiple characters and things like that, and you're doing that all patch, and then let's say you're doing it all through 8.2 as well, and let's say you're still doing it through 8.3 as well, and then at the end of the entire thing, if you're fighting the jailer and he's the big baddie and you got to take him down, and then after all that, after a whole expansion of being in Torghast, the entire expansion, then you have the final raid and the final boss fight in Torghast. That's different. That's not the same as like ICC launching with dungeons of ICC launching at the same time.
I just disagree. If it's all new assets, like, it's a completely different look. You're seeing,
but why would it be a completely different look?
I feel like you've broken me. I literally don't know how to explain this a more obvious way.
No, I can appreciate it can be different, like a different like part of Torghast that we haven't seen or whatever, but it's still going to be Torghast, right? Like, it's not going to look different. It's going to be like, okay, so it's not going to be one of the rooms that we go to.
I think we're getting hung up on semantics here. Like, it's going to be the same aesthetic, but it's going to be wholly new rooms and designs and reaches of this giant tower. I mean, and really, let me reframe it in a different way. Tell me, what is the one image that has been repeated in Shadowlands marketing and the login screen over and over and over and over and over again in relation to Shadowlands?
Bolvar. Oh, did I answer that wrong?
Bolvar's on the login screen?
You might want to make it easy for you here. Ice Crown.
Ice Crown and Torghast.
Torghast.
Ripping through the goddamn sky.
Torghast.
There is no world, mark my words, Taliesin, we're going to have the first Garrett was right on WoW Killer. Mark my words. There is no way we get out of the fight with the jailer without it taking place on an inverted version of that view. We're going to be at the top of Torghast looking at ice crown in the sky.
I believe that.
And there's no way that happens if we don't enter Torghast for some portion, if not the entire final raid.
Maybe. See, for me...
Ooh, sorry. I just had a really exciting thought.
Go. Do it. Because my thought is not exciting at all.
You play any fighting games? Were you a Mortal Kombat fan back in the day?
Back in the day. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. What if fighting game style? We hit the final phase of the jailer. We uppercut his ass through the sky, and we all as a raid fall through to the top of Ice Crown and murder his ass.
Yeah, sounds good.
It kind of sounds like a full circle, right? If you were George Lucas writing the end of your Star Wars movie, this would come full circle, and that's how we kill it. That's how we kill the jailer.
George Lucas didn't write the end of his Star Wars movies. He started filming them, and he was like, okay, everyone back here tomorrow for the end. And they're like, cool, what's happening? He's like, we'll work it out when we get here. It's fine.
I think you're confusing Lucas with J.J. Abrams.
Maybe, yeah. No, J.J. Abrams, he's like, okay, here's the end of the movie, guys. What do you think? And everyone goes, I don't understand a fucking thing, J.J. And he's like, perfect.
That's exactly what I wanted.
My main aim with it was to fuck up the next guy.
I wanted 17 cool ideas and no time to explore any of them.
Yeah.
And sorry, aside.
And, Lucas is like, what, you want an ending? You want an ending? Jesus Christ. Next you'll be asking for a beginning and middle. Come on.
At least we got Anakin, Padme on Naboo for way too much time in episode 2.
Oh shit! We forgot Luke and Leia. Okay, quickly, show her the babies. Say Luke. Okay, show her the other baby. Say Leia. Okay, good, that's done. And lo, the circle is complete.
This is one of those days, Taliesin, where I am completely incapable of wrangling you.
Genius writing. Amazing writing. So good. Quick, show her the baby. Say Luke. Luke, nice one, brilliant. Keep acting, keep the cameras keep them rolling. Show her the other baby. We haven't got another baby. Show her the same baby. Okay, say Leia. Great. Print it.
Okay, so
party time.
The final raid, they're going to be like, show them Torghast, stay Torghast. Yeah. Okay, show them the top of Ice Crown.
Go through the top. Now make it upside down. Print it. Brilliant. Perfect. Great.
Perfect. Cut. Print it. Cut. Garrett was right.
Cut.
Moving on. That's what's gonna happen. I'm just saying. Like, do you really think we're not gonna get some beautiful face off with the jailer?
No. And that's kind of fully what I expect, is that we're gonna get some beautiful face off with the jailer. And I would expect that. You're quite right. I would expect that to be in Torghast. But I'm thinking, do I want that, or am I going to be bored shitless of Torghast right now? Because even with the multiple different wings that we have of Torghast, and we've had 6 so far, 6 different wings of Torghast with all their like many different shapes and sounds and smells and like appearances and stuff, and procedurally generated, and yet I seem to get like the same room quite a lot. And
yeah, same.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
But that could just be a reflection.
With one exception. I've seen that lava room that sticks out like a sore thumb because it's the only room that's a different color once.
Oh, really?
I've seen it once. I saw it once on Alpha,
fail,
and I've seen it once on Live.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one I like never see. But the one that does the right branch where you could just go right and get to the end immediately, or go left and kill a thing and jump down, I have seen that one like every run.
Wow. You see, and this is what we're saying. Like, exactly. So, already the kind of the unlimited possibilities of Torghast are feeling a bit more limited.
Yeah. And that's not even, for me, it's not my biggest complaint. I wouldn't mind it so much, and I'm going to bring it back around to the kind of binding agent with community conversation around Torghast that I've seen, which is just the length of runs, which just goes up and up to higher and higher heights, not unlike Torghast itself, as the difficulty goes up, because the health gets increased and it just takes you longer to go through. And to me, that's kind of it's really kind of stripping away at hitting that euphoric roguelike feel for me. Yeah. Because when I play something like Hades, it gets harder, but it doesn't feel like the franticness or the speed of the combat is slowing down at all. It just feels like I'm screeching even more as I'm playing through it.
So I don't quite feel that. There's a lot that you just said that I agree with. So I agree with the general length of Torghast, and that does certainly seem to be the main complaint, and by people. And the complaint being that it's right and proper that Torghast has like a fail state. You know, it's really important that Torghast has a fail state. And it's one of the things I really like about Torghast. It's one of the few things in WoW that genuinely has a fail state. Like, Islands had a fail state, but you never really saw it. Warfronts had a fail state, but you never really, you definitely never saw it. It was actually literally impossible at first. But eventually it had a fail state. Like raids, you can wipe on a boss, but you can get up and go again. It's a one-off. You only have to kill it once, really, and got the achievement and stuff. And Torghast is different. Torghast, you can go in there and you can bop through 5 floors, which is going to take you 40 minutes probably if you're doing it right. And that can be relatively easy. And then you can get to the final boss, and those final bosses are no joke, depending on what class you are and which final boss you get and how lucky or not you've been with your powers. And those bosses can kick your ass, and then you're out of Torghast and you're gone, and you've lost your chance, and you've wasted 45 minutes for 0 reward, and you have to start again. And whereas I'm really, really happy that fail state is there, and I don't want to lose that, and I don't want to lose the fact that you can get very unlucky with powers, because I think that's really fun as well, because it means you can get really lucky with powers. And I don't want to lose like the Terror Grew and you getting chucked out, and I don't want to lose fighting to the end. I'm
following you entirely. I think that's all part of the gamification.
Yeah.
Like, if the good powers wouldn't feel good if the highs wouldn't feel high if the lows didn't feel low. You have that pendulum. And knowing that it exists and having experienced both ends of those pendulums is what makes Torghast interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of the reasons I like to go into Torghast in a group. Partly because you have a little bit of a safety net. You get more dispels and interrupts, which is super important on those final bosses. And like the more people you've got in there, the more dispels and interrupts you've got, and like just the easier the boss is. Simple as that. And also, the more people you have in your group, and it's maximum 5, of course, but the more people you have in your group, the more chance one of you has got of getting a delete everything build, like an easy mode build. Like, if it's just you might get a good build, you might get a bad build. If there's 5 of you, chances are one of you is going to get a delete everything build, and that's like totally worth having. It's worth going through with 5 people just for that, for the interrupts and for the likelihood that one of you is going to get an amazing build and kind of make everything irrelevant. So for me, the only problem, and this has just been a very long way of me agreeing with you and explaining why, is the length of time that it takes, because to preserve the randomness of it, maybe it'll be good, maybe you'll get absolutely screwed. To preserve the fail state, which is really important. To preserve like the final boss being really hard, which I think is awesome. Like, I think it's awesome how hard the boss is. Like, it's great. Again, that's not something we get very often in single player WoW, or even kind of like lower level group content, which this kind of is like some genuine difficulty. I'd like to keep that as well. To keep all that stuff, I feel like we have to make Torghast shorter for like a single run. Like 25 minutes, half an hour would seem the sweet spot for that.
I agree. It's like the rule for most YouTube videos. You want to keep it under that 30
is it? Oh, damn.
Clip.
Oh, no.
And again, I don't...
That explains a lot.
At a certain point, like, I don't think I would mind as much if it stayed to 40 minutes, if it just felt like the combat was a little kind of quicker and snappier. But yeah, in general, I think I'd much rather it get closer to that 25-minute mark, kind of regardless of the difficulty. Like, I would rather be kind of gated by dying sooner than having 35 minutes invested and then running out of lives and dying and just being like,
but then that highlights something else, which is another thing you said, which was something that I don't really feel. feel represented by, is that you said that you're kind of on the seat of your pants all the way through Torghast. I don't feel that at all. I feel like the first floor, and particularly the beginning of the first floor, is super hairy, depending on like how lucky or not you get. But you can get things in that first floor which, like, I mean, they can wipe you there and then. You get through that usually okay.
I agree. But it's also like that's where it feels the slowest and the most methodical.
Oh yeah, sure. But for me, it does speed up, and it does start to feel a lot easier as you go on. I feel like your powers scale faster than the enemies on other floors and stuff like that. So for me, like, you get past the first floor, the first bit of the second floor maybe, and the first floor is where almost all of the deaths happen, and then from then on in, you're kind of just blowing through stuff as long as you're being careful. But then there is this huge spike when you get to the boss again, which could just wipe you. And so in many ways it would kind of be better if it got harder more noticeably as you went up. So there's more chance of, like, if it was beyond you, it wiping you completely and getting you kicked before you kind of had blown through the entire thing and got to the boss. I feel like one of the problems is that it doesn't scale with you until that final boss. So you start off and it's really hard. And you might lose a few lives and things, but then it starts getting easier, and you're like, "Way!" And so you're kind of like blowing through it a bit more, but you've only got a few lives left, and then you get to the end and it kicks your ass. And I feel like it'd be better if it's scaled a bit harsher, so that maybe you wiped on the third floor, or the fourth. And I've never wiped on the third or fourth or fifth floor. It's always only ever been the first or second floor or the boss. There's no in between. And I don't know. Maybe having that no in between adds to that sense of waste. It's like, well, once you past the first and second floors, you're gonna get to the end, but that might kill you.
Yeah, and that's what it's coming down to. That's how I'm getting distracted reading chat room. It's like, Chad, I understand that it's a little bit different from class to class. We're doing our best to talk somewhat generally here. We're not going to bullet list every class in the game. It's like, yeah, I mean, you've basically hit the nail on the head for kind of where my thoughts are with it. And then I think, again, it all comes back to the length of a run, right? I wouldn't even mind the kind of, it's either the first floor or the last floor where it kicks your ass, right? I wouldn't mind that as much if it wasn't taking me 40 minutes to get to that last floor and find out if the game just decided to kind of bone me.
That's fair enough. And I guess the argument is that, I mean, later on, it's not going to take you that long. Because, I mean, the floors are scaling. And am I right? Do they go up to 12 floors or is it 18 floors overall? But because it goes up to floor... I did the 6th layer last week. And this week I can go up to an 8th layer. But I don't know how much it's going to go up to overall before it kind of caps. It's 18. Okay, 18. So there's quite a way to go. There's another like 5 weeks to go before it caps. But the idea is, like, eventually you will be out gearing it, I guess. So it will be a lot quicker to do.
Yeah. So I think to kind of take this in a slightly different direction, the point I've kind of reached is we know they're going to be adjusting Torghast in some fashion, right? I'm kind of at the point now where I want to start hearing talks about that. I want to start hearing some kind of hard facts about how they think Torghast has gone here in the opening month of Shadowlands and where they see it going in the future. Because to me, I still like it enough. I think it is interesting enough that it's the kind of thing I'm just like, I want to see them continue to tweak this.
In what way?
And well, obviously the length in the way that we talked about it. Another thing I saw coming out of the community, I really like this idea, is to make it feel a little more snappy and truly roguelike. Why are we stopping the loot? Like just have when we kill things, have us just absorb whatever it is that they're giving us and move and just keep going.
Sure.
To kind of try and keep up that tempo that other roguelikes have, which is like just keep going.
I'd like to offer a counterpoint to that, in that, I mean, we call Torghast a roguelike, but it's not. And, like, it's kind of been used as a vague kind of concept for Torghast, but I mean, it's not, is it? And that's the thing. Like, there is.
It could be, though. I think
but the thing is, once you get in there, and you start doing it, you realize it's not even really supposed to be. And I think that's the problem we're having.
Ooh, I disagree.
Okay,
I have a counterpoint to your counterpoint with an in-game example.
Okay, I mean, you don't, because I haven't actually explained my counterpoint yet, but that's fine. Go for it. If
they don't want us to move through it at a somewhat rapid pace, why then are there things I can buy from the vendor that have a 1.5-minute timer on it?
Good point. So I would say that's something that is kind of obviously has been conceptualized before Torghast has kind of taken shape and doesn't fit what Torghast has kind of ended up as, right? So, by the way, don't tell Evie that, because she was lucky enough to get one of those things from the vendor that made you immune for 1.5 minutes, like on the 6th floor before she took on the final boss. And she was I got
one of those this week too, and
suck my dick. And she loved
immunity. I got immunity for 1.5 minutes on the final boss, and I was just like,
beautiful.
I am a god.
But as a lot of people in the comments in this live stream are saying, and I agree with them, like Torghast is, if it is a roguelike, it's a very slow and methodical one. You know, like it's based on CC, and it's based on like interrupts as much as it is kind of blowing through anything. A lot of, I mean, that's borne out in the Anima powers, a lot of which are based on CC and interrupts and fears and things like that, and empowering those. So I don't think that's a mistake. I think that is intended. And you know, the best experiences and the most interesting experiences I've had in Torghast have been in 5-man groups where we're on comms and we go in, and it is a ball-bustingly hard kind of first room that they've given us. You know, one of those shitty, totally open ones with like all the millions of mobs, and they're all those skinny, skull-headed guys who do like the really shitty casts. Those dudes. I hate those rooms. I hate those guys. And they need constant interrupting, and they need like constant kind of kiting, and you know, and in those cases, it has felt like a raid. You know, it has felt like a 5-man raid where you have to be really careful, and you have to be talking to each other, and you have to be like planning things and then executing it and then catching your breath before the next bit. And for me, the thing you're describing, the kind of like momentum filled kind of running from one thing to the next, not bothering to loot, you know, it all kind of happening and something you don't need to worry about till the end. I mean, that's Mythic Plus, right?
Mythic Plus is still methodical at a speed, right? Like you're still you're making very distinct decisions on your pulls and how you're moving through it.
You're right, but I would argue that the methodical side of that comes before you even start. Like that stuff that you've worked on and that you've planned, and that if you're a team that you team up with a lot, you've practiced in advance, and then you put that into action like when the thing starts. But you're not doing that in real time, as it were. You might be reacting to things when they go wrong or unexpected things, but essentially like the thing you're describing, the mythology of Mythic Plus, is something that you do in advance. You work out your route and you go, okay, we're going to stun this guy, we're going to do this, we're going to pull that, we're going to like AoE all this stuff like that. That's something that you do in advance, and then you go in there and you execute the plan. It's not something you're working out in the moment like you do in Torghast.
Yeah, I guess I don't agree that wanting to move through something quickly is the end-all be-all of two things feeling the same. Because the reason you want to move through a Mythic Plus quickly is the timer aspect. That is the reason that it drives you to do it quickly. Whereas I want the reason I move through Torghast quickly to be, I feel empowered to do so.
Yeah.
Like it's this brawler, it's this knockdown fight. It's just keep going because I feel powerful and I'm able to do that. And I'm not breaking the flow constantly with looting or even puzzles. And I don't mind the puzzles as much. I know it's been a sore spot for some players. But it does add to that, like, oh my God, let's go. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's see. Red, blue. Oh shit. Okay, that reset everything. Okay, green, red. Oh crap. Okay, let's see. But it does feel a little strange to me to a certain degree. I don't know. I'd rather have like a combat puzzle instead of a stop and match I don't know. I just want Torghast to be a murder hallway.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit as well. But,
I think you're bringing it some interesting places. But because a lot of this is. Hell, it ties back into that conversation we were just having about how do you make a Torghast raid not feel disappointing after you spent the entire expansion in Torghast? And it's like, well, it's not all the same.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Having two modes in the game that are based around getting through it quickly, I think that's okay. As long as it's like a different feel. And, Torghast is already, I think, unique enough. And if I want to push the things that make Torghast unique further because I find them interesting. And I want to get as far away from it feeling like a dungeon run as possible.
Do you think maybe you're waiting for the endless halls? Because that thing that you're describing of just pushing on and pushing on, pushing on, is that not slightly undermined whatever the actual gameplay feels like? Is that not undermined by the fact that you're just aiming for the 6th floor? And that's where the boss is, and that's where it ends. So your feeling of kind of pushing on and getting new powers and not even really thinking about it and being like boom, 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 and it being a murder hallway, is that not kind of capped by the cap on how far you're ever going to go in Torghast at the moment? Is that not maybe something that you would hope would come later with the unlimited version of the game?
I will say I think it's difficult for me to kind of give that a fair shake when my most fully formed critique of Torghast right now is that it just takes too damn long.
Sure.
So my brain goes to, you have a point, but also I want to move through quicker. So you haven't won me over yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's an absolutely fair point. And I agree with the very basic point that I think Torghast runs are too long. And I think they could, even on the very, like I say, my best Torghast experiences have been when I've been in a group and we've gone in and, in that first week where we were doing the top layers that were available, we were undergeared and that stuff was kicking our asses. And, we had to be really careful and we had to create interrupt orders and really CC the shit out of stuff and really kind of knuckle it down. And that was an amazing experience for 2 floors. And by the time we got past 2 floors, we were all powered enough to not really have to do that anymore, and to be able to blast through it a bit. And also, even if we were still doing that, it would probably have got a bit old by that point anyway, because you're talking you're 25 minutes into the run at that point, and to be honest, you're kind of ready for the final boss there. So I'm not so keen on the idea of it being a murder hallway as you, because I kind of like the methodical sort of approach that you can have if you need to. But I certainly agree that it doesn't need to last 6 whole floors, right?
Yeah. I guess right now it feels like I'm forced to be methodical constantly, and I wouldn't mind it. I think it'd be better if there was a bit of a change in tempo. Let's clear the room, clear the hallway, clear the room, clear the hallway. All right, it's the boss. It's the end of this room. Let's just take a breather. And we don't have anything that can pop. Are we ready? All right, pull. As opposed to right now, especially when you get in those rooms where it's forced 5 pulls and up. You're just okay, all right, we're going to need to wait for our cooldowns for every single pull.
Blizz did have a mechanic in place to stop that, but people got really angry in the alpha and they had to take it out.
I don't think that those people were wrong, though.
No, I don't either. I don't either.
Oh, you can't be methodical because we're just going to murder you and rip you out of this experience. I don't think that's also particularly great design. It's a little more interesting. I will give you that. I will hand you that. That's slightly more interesting. But again, this is something we're meant to interface with regularly and repeat every week, and that would get old. It would just kind of wear out its welcome. It would just feel like another mechanic.
Yeah, and repeat at least twice every week as well. Don't forget, there's 2 different wings of Torghast open at a time, and if it, for example, this week I can't just jump into it's 3 times while the layers are increasing. it's going to be at least 3 times a week that you're running Torghast, because you have to run one wing on like the one new layer before you can do it at the top layer, and then you can jump into the other wing on the top layer. And like that's 3 times a week that you're running it per character, like as these new layers are opening up. And that's going to happen for at least the next 5 weeks, or 6 weeks if it's 18 layers. And I mean, that's to be running Torghast at least 3 times a week. That's assuming you do it every time as well. On every character you have. It's a lot of Torghast runs, man. That is and if each run takes 40 minutes, that's a lot of runs. They're capped at 8. I thought they were capped at 18. Sorry.
Okay, 8 layers, 18 floors.
So this is the highest corridors this week. I thought people said in the 18 floors is the twisting corridors. Okay, so I got the wrong answer to that when I asked earlier. Sorry. Okay, so it won't happen again now. So it'll be 2 runs a week after this week. My apologies. But that's still like 80 minutes a week, assuming that you're doing it. You know, on every character.
And you're keeping up, right?
It's a lot, man.
So I'll be honest. I looked at the second wing this week because I hadn't unlocked the final wing, you know. So I because I was again a little behind. So I did my layer, I guess 7, and it unlocked 8, and all that was left was 50 soul ash, and I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
I'll just let that go.
Yeah.
That's not worth my time. Was the sense I got, and so like there's these other strange things that it's been, you know, taking my podcaster brain who likes to wax philosophical about this game, World of Warcraft, which is I was like, at least with the way it currently is, maybe the devs had a point. Maybe they should have like locked us out and need a way to unlock and get into our run each week.
I disagree 100% with that.
Listen, I was playing devil's advocate. I was going to bring it back around too, but then my brain goes, no, they should make it feel good enough that you want to go back into it, or you want to go help your friend out, even though you're capped for soul ash for the week. And again, this is all, and I want to make it abundantly clear that for me, this is all coming from a place of I like Torghast, and I am thinking about it constantly because it is interesting enough. It is a unique enough launch experience in here with the start of this expansion that I'm thinking about it pretty damn often. And so, bringing it back to the beginning of the show, that's I think why the things that irk me about it stick out so much. Is because it is a pretty damn unique experience in World of Warcraft, and especially when I compare it to the, you know, for lack of a better word, side experiences of BFA. When I compare it to Island Expeditions, when I compare it to Warfronts, I never thought about those again. I was just like, oh, I don't particularly care for these. I would rather just not interface with them. Whereas Torghast, I'm like, this is cool. I want to do it more. But right now, you know, once I'm capped for soul ash for the week, my buddy hits me up and goes, "Hey man, you want to help me through Torghast?" I just go, "Oh, that's a lot of time. I don't really want to spend helping out my friend."
I mean, now that I've been corrected as to how many layers of Torghast there are actually going to be, I'd like to actually revise my opinion somewhat and disagree with you.
Okay.
Because like, if we are now this week at the cap for floors. So, you know, there's 8 layers from now on.
And, I think we should start saying layers and not floors.
Yeah, because it's very confusing. I know. Sorry. So we've opened up the 8 layers now, and we only have to jump in there every week. Like do you know, the 8th layer of each of the 2 wings that is open, and you've got your maximum amount of soul ash from Torghast that you can get in a week. Awesome. You do your weekly Bolvar thing. Excellent. Fantastic. That's a bit different because, you know, I'm at the stage where I'm well aware, however hard that 8th layer is when I go in there this week, and apparently is a bit of a killer, it's only going to get easier. You know, like the gear I'm at right now and the item level I'm at right now, I would expect, you know, in a couple of weeks, I would expect to be drastically higher. Having had a couple of weeks in Raid, and going into Heroic and, you know, maybe Mythic and stuff as well. Having another couple of weeks with the Great Vault, giving me loot options, and man, so great having those options from the Vault. Having like a weekly chest that gives you choices that you choose between, and you're like, oh my god, like it's like it's not just a better way of gearing, but much more importantly, it's a much better way of optimizing, you know? So like people who were complaining last week about there not being enough gear in Mythic Plus, I think they're going to take that back after a couple of weeks of having the Vault, because it's so obviously a more efficient way of gearing. And it's outrageously efficient. And people are going to be going into Torghast so much, like literally twice as geared as they are now. And they're going to be blowing holes in it, and they're going to be like scooting through it, and like genuinely, you know, it's going to be a lot more like what you described that you'd want, to be honest. And it's going to take a fraction of the amount of time to blast through, because it doesn't scale with your eye level. Like the 8th layer is the 8th layer. That's what it is, as far as I think I'm right. Okay, so at the end the tools is different, and that means that actually for me, my worry might even be the opposite. My worry might be that it becomes more like island expeditions, where it's something that, because of a lack of difficulty and a lack of kind of care that you have to take, and a lot of a lack of thought that you eventually have to give it, it becomes something which is essentially like you don't even take in, and it's just a blip, and it's annoying and boring as a result of that, you know? I don't know. What do you think of that? What do you think about apples?
Yeah, again, it's as I have been all episode. I think you have some good points. I just don't necessarily think it addresses kind of my hopes and desires. Part of what makes Torghast unique compared to, you know, a traditional roguelike or a standalone game where this is what it is. It is a roguelike. That's all this game is going to be. Is that we're taking in our MMO characters. These are characters that a lot of us have had forever, for over a decade, and these are characters that are outfitted with gear and specs and abilities outside of Torghast, outside a somewhat roguelike mode, and so that is unique, and they do need to have some effect, right? Otherwise it would feel weird. It's like, well, I'm getting better gear, I'm gearing up, I'm doing the regular World of Warcraft thing, I'm gonna go step into Torghast. It would feel weird if that didn't have some sort of effect, if that didn't make it a little bit easier for you. But the other thing we haven't really discussed is the Anima abilities in Torghast itself, which I feel like it could just be crazier. Like I think that could also play a role in alleviating some of the things we've talked about today.
Give me an example. How would you like to see them be crazier?
Well, I don't know. I can only speak to my experiences. So I've been playing a lot of Warrior, and I was thinking about I had this thought on my mind while we were having the conversation about how methodical your pulls are in Torghast. And for me, nothing makes me more methodical than 5 or 10 pulls with those damn dudes that shackle you, because then it slows you down and you actually get hit by those frontal cones that the other dudes do. And when there's 5 or 10 of them, especially, you can't tell I've been soloing almost every week now. It's hard to target the right butthole and interrupt them. So like I'm sitting here going, if this was an actual roguelike, I would have been able to unlock like a permanent ability that takes my shockwave off the global cooldown in Torghast. And it's just like, I think that it was cool the first couple of weeks. The Torghast abilities now seem really tame to me. It's like, oh yeah, it's great to do more damage, especially since I'm going as prot warrior, but it's also a little dull and just not all that exciting. Like I don't know. I want big ridiculous things happening out of my character when I'm going through here. I don't want it to look like just another World of Warcraft run.
I get that. And I mean, I've seen some pretty crazy abilities, in fairness. Like last time I went in there with Evitel, she was shooting people, and sometimes they'd turn into a chair, and sometimes they'd turn into a shoe.
I have never seen this.
It's awesome. It obviously it instantly kills them. There's just a chance that whenever you damage someone, it's going to instantly kill them. And I think this applies to the big boss at the end as well. And it doesn't just... It also turns them into an inanimate object. So you'll be fighting some big dude and suddenly you just turn into a chair. And you're like, oh, cool. That was a good
magnificent.
Fight.
And if I was
magnificent.
More of that,
and like I agree with you. That's the kind of stuff. And having the I mean the meme is the priest the mage coming out of invisibility, the arcane mage coming out of invisibility, and that empowering their next arcane blast, right? So like you can do I believe the mage from our guild, Immortalis, who is on our raid team, was written up in Icy Veins today or yesterday as an example of someone who I think holds the record for the highest single damage from in Torghast because of that ability. Which is insane. I think he did like 12 million damage or something stupid. I might be exaggerating. It's big. And so stuff like that, and I agree with you, like that kind of stuff is cool. There's some really cool builds that you can get for Priest, which do feel a bit ridiculous. My favorite as a Venthyr is like I can eventually get instant cast Door of Shadows, the teleport, on like a 10-second cooldown, and when I teleport through mobs, they take increased damage for like 30 seconds, and you can stack that up to like 100% as well. So you're just constantly like teleporting through people to give them debuffs and then zapping them down. It's awesome, so much fun. Yeah, I agree, and I think like insane anima powers is something that we will see added. I feel like this is the week where the final layer of Torghast is unlocked. So, this is, in many ways, the last week it's actually going to be challenging. This is like at the beginning of the expansion where you go in, like, remember in WoD, before Mythic Plus existed, and you went in, and those dungeons were hard, man. You went into WoD dungeons, and they were really difficult. Like, they were hard to get through.
Yeah. Everything WoD and before. This is just how dungeons work.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so hard.
But then you never did dungeons again for the rest of the expansion. Once you'd done them on Heroic, it was like, I mean, why would you go into dungeons again? You outgear them so much. Like, you just blow through them. They can't put any rewards in there. And that's why they had to invent Mythic dungeons, like towards the end of WoD, to kind of try and make them relevant again. And Mythic Plus actually solved the problem properly. And like, it's a bit like that. It's that thing of like, yeah, okay, so now Torghast is still slow and methodical, but every single week from now on, it's going to get faster and faster. And then they can start having some real fun with it. Then they can start, when the idea isn't to be a challenge anymore, really, and they're kind of savouring it being a challenge right now, I kind of feel, but it's not going to be afterwards, although the idea is that is with the endless halls, right? So, like, you go in and you do your 2 layers a week of normal wings, and maybe that's something they can have fun with. And I'd be very surprised if you didn't see more extreme anima powers kind of introduced, certainly as the patches go on. Whether or not we get them before 9.1, I'm not sure. But I'd be very surprised if we didn't see more anima powers added, like of the sort that you're describing. Sounds like Prot Warrior got a bad shake, actually. They sound pretty boring.
They're a little dull, as much as it's cool that, like, I can't remember the last time I failed to run, because I just kind of feel like an unkillable, wall of armor. But right now my favorite ability is tied to my Covenant. The ancient aftershock that the Night Fae get, there is an anima ability that gives it a small chance to happen on an auto attack, and that's great and awesome. But that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Everything else is really subtle. So I'm going for these like low cooldown, higher damage shield slam builds, which is cool. It'd be amazing if this was out in the rest of the World of Warcraft world. That'd be nuts. But in Torghast, it's just like, well, you could have done anything in here. Yeah. And it just seems a little tame is all it really comes down to. And so again, want to hammer it home. It's coming from a place that, like, I really like this. It's super interesting. I would like to see them just push it and mold it and shape it further.
Yeah. Genuinely, I think certainly when it comes to anima powers, that's something we're really going to see. Another thing that is worth bearing in mind is it's going to get easier as these weeks go by, and it's going to get massively easier. Like the jumps you see in how easy it is to run layer 8 of Torghast, I think we might even be underestimating. I think it's going to get so easy, but also,
I think in 4 weeks it's going to be trivial for
exactly. But
playing regularly.
The other thing that goes along with that is, why are you running Torghast?
Legos, man.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Legos.
like, how many Legos do you want? Like, at what stage are you going to reach the point where you're like, I mean, I'm not going to swap this Lego out. So, yeah, I'd like to have all of the Legos, but do I really need to go into Torghast every week?
I really, really, really want the full armor set for when eventually I can transmog it. But in reality, in the short term, in terms of just playing the game and having a good time on my main, I want 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you are.
It's pretty specific to Warrior. Like, one is significantly better for everything but raids as a Prot Warrior, and one's really good for raids as a Prot Warrior. And then I want best in slot for Fury just so I can go level quicker.
Sure.
Or daily grind quicker, not level. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I mean, like, you're like at the moment, I'm like, obviously, I want to get kind of. I haven't actually got my Abyss Legendary yet because it's on a boss that we haven't reached yet in the raid. I know, poor me. Cry me a river. Like, holy priests are like, yeah, my Abyss Legendary is literally on Denathrius. Like, I have to complete the raid. I have to win the raid before I get my Abyss Raid Legendary. Thanks.
Sounds like you need a better raid.
Awesome, mate. Brilliant, amazing. Fantastic.
So why isn't Immortalis just like one-shotting him day one? That sounds like a problem with your
we have to give all the other Immortalis guilds a chance, you know. It's just not fair otherwise. Like I want this to be a segment that happens in the show for a while now, the Race to World First for guilds with a name a bit like Immortalis. We can't just finish it up in the first week. It'd be embarrassing. All the other guilds would give up and then we wouldn't have the segment anymore. So, you know, we've got to keep it going.
What would you do for content? You have to actually like cover World of Warcraft.
Fuck that. Oh God, I'm swearing so much today. I'm so sorry. It's in that kind of mood. It's because I'm getting a haircut later and I'm nervous. That's why.
It's fucking okay. It's okay.
So I'm really sorry to people listening to this podcast. A, for the swearing, but B, for the fact that I keep talking about my haircut. But honestly, if you could see me now, my hair it's down to my nipples. It's outrageous. I look like...
It was longer at the beginning of quarantine.
I look like California man right now.
You were going to go join Taking Back Sunday any moment. It said be Tally Back Sunday. That's what it would be.
So like, you know, but I need to get my Abyss raiding legendary up to 4, like, you know, rank 4. I need to get my nice legendary that I've already got, which is on rank 1, for dungeons up to 4. But after that, I'm like, whatevs, man. I need to go into Torghast unless I really feel like it. It does no big deal. Hey, you need some help in Torghast, Mr. Gildy? Well, tough shit, because I don't feel like it, and I don't need no legendaries. So I don't. Yeah. And I know like the pro players now, pro players, right? What they're going to do is they're going to have a rank 4 legendary on every gear slot that they can do it on. So you know, like you can have your legendary on your shoes, or you can have it on your ring. They're going to have it on both, aren't they? You see, and so that's a lot of work right there. So that, you know, they can swap it out to optimize their gear better and min-max better, and that's absolutely fair enough. It's another way that good players ruin it for everyone else, right? Now we all have to do it, but like, you know, that's a lot of work. But essentially, for most of us, we're going to get the legendary or 2 that we want, and we're going to kind of be done with Torghast, aren't we? Really? And this is another
little bit, yeah.
reason.
And again, but I like it. So I don't want to be done. I'm going to want to go back. I'm going to want to engage in endless halls.
Well, exactly.
So let's keep modifying and tweaking and improving. And I don't know. I just find it so interesting. I can't help but think of all the cool ways that they could just iterate to hell and back. Just keep going and treat this like its own mini game as a service within World of Warcraft.
Tell me more. Tell me more amazing ideas that you have.
Well, it's just, I mean, this is the entire conversation we had. Like, I know a lot of it was focused on improving the runtime, but all of the things I think we kind of discussed today are avenues and angles and portions of Torghast that they could tweak and improve upon. They could keep rolling out new Anima powers. They could make the existing ones, they could tweak them, maybe make them a little more powerful if need be. You know, this is getting away from the conversation of like the layers themselves becoming trivial as we gear up. This is now I'm kind of into how do we make Endless Hall something I really want to just throw myself into over and over again. I want to embrace death in Torghast and not feel like it was a bit of a methodical slog. But you know, the Anima powers are a big part of it. The thought of these more permanent outside of Torghast unlocks that augment Torghast, like before I even step in the door, that's another thing that feels a little disconnected right now. Why am I buying that with Stygia in the mall, in the Maw, and not something that I'm unlocking through Torghast itself?
Yeah.
That also just struck me as a little odd.
Yeah.
That I was like, wait, I'm not getting better at Torghast by running Torghast? That seems weird.
I mean, it's to give you more reasons to run them more, isn't it? Right, which we really need. But I mean, I know why, but I agree with you that it does.
I stand by my comments last week though that I actually kind of think they gamified them all in a really good way, because like the first 2 weeks, especially because I was a little behind, I was like, oh my god, this is a pain in the ass to get around this. But I unlocked like my first portal It's like, oh yeah, sweet. The maw's not nearly as much of a pain in the butt, but now I'm starting to hit it again. And I'm like, hey, when am I getting that next portal to another corner of this zone?
I really like the Maw. I'm really sorry. And you can judge me as much as you like. I love the Maw. I think it's really good. I don't go there as much as players who feel the need to grind it for their, because I don't care. I'll get the gem slots. It's fine, whatever. But also, I'm not going to have my BIS optimal gear as quickly as, say, like a Mythic Raider, right? So they need those gear slots. They can put it on their best gear or even their leveling gear and stuff like that. But I don't need those for now. I'm fine. I'll get there when I get there. And so I really enjoy going into the Maw and having fun and playing it. I suspect how it's supposed to be played, and like min-maxers are always going to go above and beyond how something is supposed to be played, and that's how they choose to play the game. But it's probably going to be less fun to play as a result, but you get your fun from the fact that you're min-maxing, right? So you just find your fun in different ways. But yeah, obviously I'm going to enjoy the actual content more than someone who feels that they have to kind of grind it and do all that. And that's completely understandable, but I'm really enjoying it. It's when I read comments like, I read something, someone tweeted, Blizzard, what they've done by not letting you mount in the Maw and then allowing you to unlock portals and stuff like that, they've invented a problem so that they could solve it. And I was like, yeah, that's what a video game is.
A game, is an invented problem.
I mean, that's literally what you've just described a video game.
I didn't have to think of a world where an L block fits into openings, but Tetris came and invented that problem so I can solve it.
Like, you've just, oh my God, you've put a hole in the world just so you can make me jump over it. Yeah.
We are being somewhat reductive. There is a balancing act to all of that. Like, there's a point where you might go too far with forced inconveniences to gamify systems that have unlocked. But yeah, I'm with you, straight up. I think the Maw gets a bum rap. I've seen a lot of negativity thrown at the Maw from every corner, to the inconvenience of not being able to mount, to just how it looks. And everyone's like, Garrett, you didn't like the Mechagon island. You don't like your generic dirt islands in patches. And I'm just like, yeah, but the Maw, like, it's supposed to look like hell. It's hell. I kind of dig it. Like, I get what they were going for, and I think they nailed it.
Garrett, that's a beautiful point, which I thoroughly agree with. And I know that you've got to go. We've got a hard finish on this episode, right? Yeah. But I have to say something. This is very important. Okay. Something that you just said inspired me. And you're going to have to go with me on this one, okay? If we, on this show, WoW Killer, my show, on which you are the permanent guest, if on WoW Killer we ever have a merch store, okay, please, can we sell WoW Killer bum wraps?
What is a bum wrap?
I was going to ask you the same thing, because you said the Maw gets a bum wrap, and I was like, I'd like a bum wrap. Sounds awesome. Like, my bum needs wrapping sometimes. Sometimes you just want your bum to be cozy, and you're like, I'd like a nice warm bum wrap right now. Maybe one you can put in the microwave for a couple of seconds. Just warm it up.
We'll sell fanny packs.
Again, it's going to mean something very different in the UK to the US.
What is the thing that...
a fanny is a JJ in the UK. So when Americans talk about fanny packs and fanny pads and stuff,
so what do you call?
It's literally hilarious. When Americans are like, "Oh, I bumped my fanny," you're like,
all right. Well, so, anyways, to try and bring this home,
how's your fanny?
It's very warm at the moment because I've been sitting on it for the last hour talking World of Warcraft with you.
Fantastic.
So to bring it home, everything we talked about today, what's the one thing you hope that what's the one thing you hope to see? Like, what do you hope that the team tweaks?
I would like Endless Corridors to retain the difficulty and the methodicalness that I'm enjoying in Torghast right now. I want Torghast to become everything that you want it to be in terms of like fast and quick and murder corridors. But I'd like to see the endless corridors at some point kind of get to a difficulty, if you get high enough, that it just kicks your ass and you need to be very, very careful again. I would
like it to just straight up murder you. Like, you will just hit a point in Endless Halls where you just can't go any further.
And I'd like to see some cool gear, like bum wraps.
I would too. And to me, the number one thing I would love to see is just more frequent ability updates and new abilities being added. That's kind of the number one thing I'm kind of waiting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, I think that brings us to the end of this Torghast talk. Folks, if you want to write in, be a part of our show when we do our mailbag segments, or sometimes we even sneak an email into an episode if it's talking about the topic that we have chosen for the day, write in. It's wowkillercast@gmail.com. If you want to subscribe to the podcast, this is available in audio-only form everywhere that you get your podcasts. Head on over to wowkiller.net because we have all of the where to subscribe, how to subscribe information over there. Taliesin, if folks are somehow unaware that all of the content that you're making, where can people find your other WoW content?
You can check us out on YouTube at Taliesin and Evitel do games. You can find us on Twitch here if you're watching it right now, which is Taliesin and Evitel at Twitch. And you can find us on Twitter as well at Taliesin and Evitel. It's easy, honestly. Just search our names. It's fine. What about you, Garrett?
I'm Garrett Art on Twitter, and this podcast and every single other one that I produce can be found at amove.tv. That's AMOVE.tv. Go check it out. We hope you enjoyed this episode of WoW Killer. We will most likely be back next week. We'll see what happens. Today was an absolute technical hellhole, but
it's all sorted now, Garrett. No problems at all. I've got it all on one button now. I just press it, and WoW Killer is go. Simple as that.
Wonderful. So
I can't wait. Next week's going to be so easy.
We capped our WoW Killer Soul Ash for the week. Sounds great. So until then, everybody, good luck, have fun, and good luck in Torghast.